Alright, so welcome back to Delivered Coding. In today's video, we're going to learn the basic Express.js. So what is Express.js? So Express.js is an open source framework of node.js that is used to develop backend service for web and mobile applications. And in today's video, I'm gonna cover the installation, the hello world, routing, REST API, router, template, static file, and middleware. Alright, so without further ado, so let's get started. Alright, so the installation is really simple. So here in my terminal, I'm going to create a new folder called basic express, and then I can cd into the folder, and I'm going to run the npm init-y, and after that I can install Express. So I'm going to run npm I Express. So this we're going to install the Express to our projects. So after that I can open in my Visual Studio Code. Alright, so next up we're going to create our hello world with our Express. So in my Visual Studio Code, I'm going to create a file called server.js. And so the first thing that we need to do is to import Express to our project. So I'm going to do const express equal to require express, and then we're gonna create an object of it. So we can do const apps equal to express, and then we can create the method for routing, which I'm gonna explain what is routing in the next part. But for now, we just make our app work first. We can do get, and then we have to request request and respond, and then we're gonna respond send hello world, and then we can, our app is to listen on port 3000, and then we can display that our server is running. So one thing I can do, I can console the logs server is running on port 3000. So after that we can run in our terminal, we can run node server.js, and now you can see our server is running on port 3000. If we go into our browser and we go to localhost 3000, and we can get our hello world. So that's it. Alright, so next up I'm gonna talk about routing. So what is routing? So routing is it's just like the URL that in the browser, whenever you go into any web site, you can go into specific routing, and that is the URL on the web page. And for routing, we have 4 methods that we can work with. So the first method is get method, as you can see right here, which is gonna handle, so every routing is gonna handle the request and respond. So the request here is an object that we can read from the user when user requests make a form, and then we have this for the request we can read the value from the form, which we're gonna do in the next part as well. And also the response here is gonna send back to the user. So as you can see, the get right here, which is for reading. So basically it's for read the data whenever user want to read the data, and we can use the method get method, and then you can specify the path of it. So, and then if right now, if I can, let's say get / data, and which is the same thing, request and respond, and then I can do is to respond send data. So now if I this one, so I need to close this one. And if you want to have the refresh, so not refresh, reload, so whenever we change this one, and then it's gonna update, so we need to install nodemon. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna npm install i-d nodemon. So this is going to install nodemon in our development server. Alright, so after you install nodemon, and the first thing that you can do, you can go into the package.json, and you can write some, you can see the script right here. And one thing you can do, you can get to a development script. So we're gonna do nodemon server.js, and then you save that, and whenever you want to run, you can just npm run dev. So this is gonna run node.server.js, and then if right now if I make a change to in here, rather than data, I can go to hello, data hello, and then you can see it's reload this one. So right now I can go into the localhost 3000 and /data, and you can see data hello. And like I told you, like the basic method for routing, we have 4. The first one is get, it used for read, and next is post, that used for create, and we have put for update, and we have delete, which is, as you can see, the name is for deleting. So in the next part, we're going to work with REST API. I'm gonna explain and how to use that route. So for now, as you can see in your challenge, you can try to create the route that try the user can get the data and send something back to them. So maybe like /about. All right, so that's pretty much it. All right, so next up, we're gonna talk about how you can read the parameter. So whenever you go to the URL, so you can see whenever I go to / right here, I can type my name, and then we can read those values, and so when we can respond to that. So let's see how we can do that. So in our apps.get right here, the method right here, so what I can do, I can colon, and I can call whatever I want. So let's say in this case we want to get a name. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give this a name. If you want to get an ID, you can just call this an ID. So now I'm gonna give this an ID, and then I can plus this one request. So to read this ID, what we can do is I'm gonna store this in variable. We can get it from this request right here, and then dot params, and then dot whatever you name right here. Whenever you name this one ID, so you need to pass this one as an ID. If you using this one as a name, and then you need to give this a name as well. All right, so now I'm going to change this one back to ID, and then after that we can plus the ID right here. So now hello world. And then right now if I do this one as an ID of 1, and you can see the number 1 right here. You can pass this one as anything you want, and it will be appear right here. So yes, that's it for and how you read the param from the URL. Alright, so in this part we're gonna talk about REST API. So what is REST API? So right now if you go into the link right here, it has a JSON placeholder. It is a free REST API, and for the REST API is the handle for the request from the user and respond back to the user. And like I told you before, we have for basic routing, which is we're gonna handle when the user want to read the data, when the user want to post, and when you want to create or update and delete the data. As you can see right here, the route right here, we have the method called get. Then when we go into this route, the get here is gonna send us the data that we need, and if we want to post, we want to create to this one, so which we're gonna do. So first in here, I'm gonna create the folder. So I'm gonna put this one in the source, and I'm gonna move this server up in here, which is gonna crash this one, which is okay. And then I'm gonna create a folder called data, and then in here I'm gonna type index.js. This is our data, and then I'm gonna export our data. So this is gonna be static data. So we're gonna have an object that have an ID of 1, and then we have our task. It's gonna be task 1, and I'm hit save this one, and this one is get error because in our package JSON node servers we cannot find this one, so we need to have source/server.js. So now if I close this one again, so we can do run pm run dev. So right now our server is start, so everything is okay. So now instead of sending hello world right here, what I wanted to do is I want to send the data right here. So for that, I can do is to create another route called apps.get, and then we're gonna do /API/ you can call this maybe data, and then it's gonna be the same thing. We have request respond, and then we can do is to respond to this one. You can have it with the status code, so you can do it's 404, but this one is gonna be okay, so I'm gonna do 200, or it's okay if you don't want to send with the status, so we can just send. And then this one we're gonna do with JSON, because we wanna send this data right here as a JSON. So for that, we can do is import with that data. So then I'll import this data in here. Okay, so now if we go back into our route, so go /3000, I go with API, and then I go with data. And then as you can see, we have this data that we just created. So if I were to copy and paste this one, it's gonna be task2, and then we refresh and we have task2. Alright, so that's it in our get request. So now we need to create, now let's say if we want to add this one, when the user add this one via form, or using a form, and then to create a new task. So for that, we're going to work with the post request. So we're going to do apps.post. So this one we want to work with post, and we're going to post to the same location, which is API data, and which is exactly the same. We have request and respond, and then this one we need to, so the request right here is going to handle what the user send, like which is this data right here. So whenever the user create, they're going to create this object. So we're gonna take this one and add it to our data. So in order to get that, we need to have we need to read it from the request right here. But alright, so I'm gonna show you how to do that. So for now, we can do request task equal to request.body, the request here .body, and then we can respond to this one. So whenever user after they send, we can send back those data. But right now we're going to create the place that the user can send this data into our API, and then we can read that one. So since we do not have any HTML or front end to connect this one, we can use PostMan to do that. So I leave the link in the description, so you can download the PostMan. So then after you install the PostMan, you can create plus the new right here, and then as you can see right here, we have a lot of methods. We have post, put, patch, a lot, and what we're interested in is post. And actually you can run a get it from here as well. So right now if I go to localhost, which is 3000, and then we go to API/data, and then you can see the response, which is right here as well. So exactly the same in the browser. So what we're interested in is the post, and then we're gonna go into body right here, and then we go click to raw, and then we have to use our type this one. So we're gonna do JSON, and then this is what the user will send. So this one is similar to the form. When you're using the form in our HTML, it's gonna behave the same thing, but like I told you, we do not have HTML, so we have to use this one. So for now, we're gonna do our new task, which is an ID, which is gonna be 3, and then we can do with the task is going to be let's say task 3. Okay, so now after I click send to this one, we have to so this one is gonna handle this one. First, it's gonna read this object, and then we're gonna respond back. So right now I'm gonna send post it. Then we can console.logs the task that we're going to receive, and then I'm gonna clear this one. After that you can see this one. So after I post this one and we respond to this one is posted, and in here we got undefined. So what's the reason of that? We need to use one package called body parser. So you can go ahead and install this one. I leave the link in the description as well. So but I already installed that. So body parser allow us to pass the JSON request. So right now we're gonna copy this one and I'm gonna paste it right here. Right, so then we need to import this one. So body parser require, and then we're gonna do body parser right here. So then right now this one is as you can see, it's gonna pass our JSON. So whenever we post this one, so right now we can do it again. So I click this one, we got post it, and then our request.body, right now you can see we have this object which is the task right here. So now we can use this one to update our data. Alright, so we're gonna create const data, new data equal to data that we just import in here, which we just created right here, and we can update this one. So data equal data, and then we can do new data is equal to, or we can do actually do like this. We're gonna spread this data with the old data, and then we can pass the new data, the new task right here. I can call this one actually a task. I call this one a new task. And then we can respond this one as a new data, so then we can see that as respond that as well. So now if I click send here again, so you can see we have this task right here. If I were to send again, it's going to be exactly the same, because our first data we have 2, right now we just add this one with 3. So that's it, how you use to post requests and how to create the data. So alright, so next up we're going to work on how to update our data. So to do that, what we're gonna do is to, whenever you go into this route right here, and then when you pass the ID right here, whether it's 3 or, and then we're gonna look at the ID, and then we're gonna update what you want to update. Maybe like you want to update the task to the new task, or you want to update like that. So that we're going to do. So to do that, what we're gonna do is to add a post, and that post, so we wanted to put now the same pass API, and we have data. Now we're gonna do request and respond, and then we can get the ID, which is from the param. Now we're gonna get this ID right here. Alright, great. So and then right now we can get that ID by ID equal to request.params.id. But the ID right here is gonna be string even though if we give this a number. So if we want to give this a number, one thing that we can do, we need to pass in this one. Pass this one, the string right here, into integer. And then let's say we want to update our task one right here into the new task. So then when I will go into this route and I pass the ID of 1, and then I'm gonna give the ID the body of this one, but the new task name is gonna be new task. And then just like that, and then in here we can do is const new data is equal to data dot maps, and then we're gonna have the data, and then this is one index. So one thing if we can do if the index is equal to the ID, and not the index. Actually it's data, so we're gonna do item right here, and then if items dot ID equal the ID that we give, and then which is right here. Alright, I think we need to wrap this one around as well. So if the item.id right here equal the ID that we have right here, and then what we're gonna do is the items.task is equal to request.body.task, or we can save this one. So we can do like now const equal to task new task. So actually we can do just like that. equal this one. And after that, we can respond back our new data. So let's send JSON and then new data. So now if you go back where we hit post this one, alright, so in here you can see you need to select to change the method. So we need to change this to put, and then just put 1, the ID 1, and now is we got to null, else just return items. So we need to do this one. Okay, so now if we go back again, and this one is going to be item 2 is this one, then we need to return the item as here as well. So I forgot to return the item. So basically we do not do this one. So what we need to do is to create this one, and then just after that we need to return an item. Then whenever I go back again, as you can see right now with our ID 1 we can with a new task, and we want to update ID 2 with a new task. So you can see right now ID 2 with a new task as well. Alright, but the problem is why the ID 1 we have that one. Okay, so let's do that again. So as you can see right now we have an ID 2 with a new task. Alright, so that's it on how you update this the data. So the next thing is we're gonna do is to delete the data, and how you can delete that. So it's really simple, similar to this one. You can what you can do is to just delete, and then the API / data, and then we need an ID that you want to delete, and request and respond, and we can get those ID, which is I'm gonna copy and paste right here. And then one thing that we can do filter this one. So const new data is equal to data dot filter. Now we can have an items, and we want to filter that items dot ID that is not equal to ID. And then we can respond dot send ID, send new data. But okay, this one right now we need to change from put to delete, and then we don't need to request that body right here. So whenever I put this one, it's gonna remove this ID2, which the task right here. So when I send, as you can see, it removed the task 2. Now if I want to delete again, so I can do this. So we have removed the task 1. Alright, so that's it on how you delete it, and that's it for the REST API. Alright, so this part we're gonna work with the router. So what is router? As you can see right here, right now we have the prefix an API right here. So we can make this one as a router, and then let's start with that. So the way we do that, we can create, so right now I'm gonna create a folder called router, and then in the router right here, I can do with the API.js. And in here, so one thing first I'm going to do is to import Express equal to require Express. And then for the router, so I'm gonna, this one you can call router, and then equal to Express dot router. And this one you can call whatever you want, so you can call an API, so which what I'm gonna do. So, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy everything that we written right here for our REST API, and I cut this one, and then I'm go ahead and paste it right here. And then instead of this app, I'm gonna change this one to API. And then for this one, we can remove this one as well. So I can remove this one, and now that's it. So then what need to do is to export the API. So back into our server.js, so we can use that one. So this one, I think I'm going to remove this one as well. So we can do apps.use, and then we can pass our API right here. So we just import right here, API. And then this is the path of that. So that's why I removed the API, so you can pass the API right here. So, and then everything is gonna work exactly the same thing. So right now, if I go to get request, if I request this one, so there's number one right here, and all right, so you can see we need an API, but API. So all right, so there's something wrong. All right, here. So let's see what is going on. So we use this one, an API, and all right, API get right here, get this data, API data, and post and get. So I think this should actually works, but for now it's an error. Let's see what is the error of this guy. Data is not defined. Okay, I see, because right now we do not have any data. So with data, so we need to require import data. So let's see. So require from this one, so we can get out here, and then we go in data. So and then if we go back again, I see cannot get request. So an API, oh, and then yeah, an API. Now we have to pass the data. So everything is worked. So that's it. Really good. And as you can see right now, you can just remove this data right here as well. So one thing you can do just a slash right here, and then in the server you can call this one API slash then data, and then you can actually call this whatever you want, maybe like to do, and then so then we don't have to replace all of this one, right? So this is really useful for that. So compared to the last one, if we want to change that, we need to change this one, we need to change this part, we need to change this part, so which is really boring. So we can actually do it like this. So right now, instead of data, you can go to do, and it's work exactly the same things. All right, so that's pretty much it on how to use router. All right, so in this part we're gonna work with templates. So in the previous part, as you can see, right, right now what we can see is we send the JSONs, but this one is good for application like merge stacks, like we have React in the client side. That's gonna make it respond to our endpoint right here. But we can do is what we're gonna do now is we can send our template with like an actual like an HTML, and then we can send those data directly, so from the server. So for that we can use the Park template right here. So you can use handlebar as well, so if you want, but I prefer Park. So and then you have to go ahead and install the Park right here, so which I already done that. So after you install that one, so in here in the source folder, I'm gonna create a folder called views, and in here I'm gonna create the index.park, and the syntax is similar to the HTML as well. So right now if I go to shortcut and we have some body, then if you want to have an h1, you can have just h1 like that, and hello world. So maybe in the next video I'm gonna talk about the basic of Parks, but right now we just talking about Express right here. So right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our Express server. It's gonna be render this template right here. So the way we do that, we're gonna app.set view engines, and then we call our engine name is gonna be Park, and then we're gonna set the where location of that. So we can do is views, and then we can set our location of that is going to be source/views, and then I can do is like this one. So then to render that one, what we need to do next is to create a route. So let's say when we go into this route, we can do request right here, and then one thing that we can do response.render, and then we can give the template name, so which is index. So you can see index.park right here. You need to do the index. If you have about.park, you can change this one to about.park. and then we hit save this one. And then when we go to localhost 3000, as you can see right now we have a hello world. So next, let's say to next more, like I go to about, we can do that, about page, and then we can do an h1. Let's say this is about, and similar the same thing. So I'm going to copy this one, and we go into about, and then we can do about right here as well. All right, so now if I go to /about, and it's going to generate the about page. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. So and in the next part we're going to talk about how to use a static file, which is the image. All right, so in this part we're gonna learn how to serve a static file, which is the image, so that we can use that in our Parks view engine right here. So for that I have created a folder called public, and then in here we have some asset folder, and then we have an image which is GitHub right here. So we're gonna use our Express to serve this static folder. So the way we do that, we can do I think I'm gonna about right here, apps.use, and then we can do express.statics, and then you can do the path name. For that is gonna be public, and just like that. So right now if we go back into our index right here, we can use our image. So we're gonna do img, and the source right here is gonna be asset / the name of the image is gonna be github.png, and then just like that. So when you go into our localhost 3000, now you can see we have an image. So that's it on how you can serve a static files. Alright, so in this part we're going to talk about middleware. So what is middleware? So middleware is the function that run before we go into the routes that we want to access. Let's say I want to go into this route, but before that, before I can arrive here, so I need to check something first. So that is the middleware. It's like between the, so when the user respond or when the user request to our server, and then we run the middleware, and after that we can respond to the user. So that's what we're gonna do. So to demonstrate that, we're going to create a dashboard .park. So and in here, h1 right here, what I'm gonna do is to, let's say, dashboard, and then so then in our server we can render that one. So one thing I can do is get app.get right here, and then I can do dashboard, and then I can go do the dashboard right here as well. And then when I go to the dashboard, alright, so I think I spelled this one not correctly. So dashboard, okay, dashboard, and then I can do this one, okay. Alright, so whenever I go to this one, let's say for unauthorized user, so this is good for the authentication. So we don't want anyone to go into here. That's why we should have a middleware that cut in between, and then we can check if the user is authenticated. Then we're gonna send them here. If not, we're gonna redirect them somewhere or send them something. So for that, I'm going to create the folder called middleware, and the middleware right here, I think like is auth, to check if we authentication or not. So in here I'm going to create a function called is authenticate, and then it's similar to our route. So we have some request, respond, and next, and then I'm gonna do export modules dot export equal to is auth. So whenever the user requests, so we have this one is similar to in our route. So we have request and respond right here. So one thing that we can do, we can check if the request dot, so now this is the fake check if user authentication. And if you want to do authentication, maybe I will do in the next video, which we're gonna store the session. But for now, just simplicity, I want this one is the request.body. So by default, whenever we go into, when user get request, we didn't post any body to this one, so this one is going to be empty. So this one, if this is an object, so maybe we can do this request dot body dot session. So this is fake. This is if you don't understand this one, but this one is just a fake authentication. Let's say if the user doesn't have a session, if the user does not have a session, so if let's say if the user does not have a session, we're gonna respond them. Let's say in H1 right here, we can say you are not authenticated, and then in else, if the authentication, we just run the next. So this one is will run is we check first if the user have a session or not, and if it's not, we're gonna send them this one, and if they have, so we're gonna next. So next here is gonna go into what we want to show them. So to use this one, we can go in here, we can just pass right here is auth right here. So you can see, so whenever they go into slash dashboard, we need to run this one. So when in this one we check, and if okay, we send next. So when it's next, it's gonna run like this one, and then it's gonna respond to the dashboard page right here. So right now we cannot go because our session is not have. So this is that's why when we go to dashboard, we are not authenticated. So that's pretty much it on how to do the middleware. And maybe in the next video I want to do more about Express. And if you have any question, you can leave it down in the comment, or you can join our Discord and ask a question. And if you want to more Express video like this, you can comment down below as well. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it for this video, and hopes you learned something. And alright, see you guys in the next video. Peace.